Okay, welcome downtown Portland, week 113, Justice for Qadira. And I apologize because I am tired today. And I got to be really honest, like, the stress of this thing is almost debilitating. Having to get out here every week and deal with this problem. I know some people want us to be quiet, but I'm sorry, we can't agree to live in a society where there's no laws or rules, and where people, where people use their positions of authority to abuse other people. Like that can't be allowed to go on, and more of us need to start speaking up about it. So, yes, it's my right to have free speech, sir. Thank you. This is America. If you don't like it here, there's other places you can live where there isn't free speech. It's really sad that Americans have been brainwashed to not believe in the value of free speech. But the fact of the matter is we are going to continue to protest the situation until there's some resolution to it. So that is what we plan to do. You can leave the corner. Get out of, be somewhere where I'm not talking. Yes, because that's a real easy place to put yourself. I don't know why there are people who like to play interference with this protest. Again, we are protesting the severe abuse of our daughter here, and we are currently waiting for law enforcement to act. And hopefully they will act, because that's why we get out here every week. We have rights on the books anyway. I don't know if any of them are ever going to go into effect, but we do have rights. We're supposed to, and we would like for that to be something that we can access as American citizens. So. It's unfortunate that many Americans don't care about their free speech rights or care about any of their rights anymore, and just kind of want to be led around by the nose by people who don't care about them. But we are standing firm in the fact that we don't want to go along with that. I mean, I have expectations of the leadership here, and I think that we'd all be a lot better off if more people had expectations of the leadership here. One of my expectations is that they not be involved in breaking laws. And for some reason, we are still struggling to get the acknowledgement we need here in terms of all the crimes that were committed against our daughter, who again was an innocent 8-year-old victim. So I don't really care who doesn't want to hear about it. This entire event was brought to you by your public officials who just didn't do their job. And that's a problem. When you are, a trusted authority, the only thing you need to do when a citizen comes to you with a problem is your job. Because there's all these rules and regulations that govern the job you're supposed to do. And those are the agreements we've all made here together as American citizens, no matter what we believe, in our own personal lives. The fact of the matter is there has to be some rules so our society can function. And one of the rules that we do have is that you are allowed to protest anything that happens in a nonviolent, peaceful way, which me and my husband have successfully done for 113 weeks. So it's really unfair when people come by here and tell us to be quiet, because I think that in terms of what we've achieved here, it's pretty impressive. Not that we get any acknowledgement for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that.
See, and there are just some really awesome people out here too, and I hate when the people who are not caring and not actually interested in their rights, when they drown out the people that are. See, I mean, this gentleman that just walked by, he's interested in having some rights and, interested in living in a country where people are treated like they matter. And that is what we're out here working on every day. And we work tirelessly on this for every American citizen, because again, we don't have to get out here and share our story. we share our story on our own time and our own dime. So I kind of want to go back through it again for people who haven't heard it. Our daughter was the victim of abuse by Todd Burkholder and Amy McQuiston on the night of April 12, 2007. They coerced her to play a naked game, and then they burned her on a large portion of her body with scalding water. When I called to check on my daughter, they told me she'd been burned. I went over there. I found her naked, burned up in a basement, and I took her to Providence St. Vincent's Hospital, where she was not treated by a Julie Andrews, Dr. Julie Andrews. And then the next day I took her to, she was literally released, on that night within 17 minutes in shock and unable to walk. They didn't do a rape kit. They didn't examine her. They literally just gave her some Tylenol with codeine and wrapped up her leg. This was a massive wound. They didn't even put a blood pressure cuff on her. I mean, they collected as little physical evidence as possible. And then behind our back, they labeled what happened to her an accident. And then when we got up the next morning, praise Jesus, she wasn't dead in our bed because the extent of her wounds, they should have killed her overnight, literally. So again, when we're down here praising Jesus and praising God, that is for the life of our daughter, because she should not have lived through this. We took her to OHSU the next day. She was seen by a Dr. Sarah Tubingstein, who did not do her job. She unwrapped the wound, she looked at it, then she just wrapped it back up and told us to go to the medical store and get some bandages and Silvadine and deal with the wounds ourselves, alone. And then she was seen again by a Dr. Nakamuli a few days later who did the same thing. So our daughter was seen by multiple doctors in the month of April who did not report her abuse and who did not treat her wounds or notify anybody. They psychologically abused us and told us to take our daughter home and deal with this ourselves. I want everyone to know that me and my husband at the time, we had very good insurance. He was working at Nike. There was no reason for them to throw her out of the hospital. She was never once routed to the Emmanuel Burn Center. And then an attorney called us up and took her case on contingency, okay? And he told us he was a special burn attorney and that burns had to be handled in a certain way. And then he essentially didn't do anything for us.
This attorney's name was Scott F. Kocher. He still works here.
He still works in this town, but he took us on this 16-month, all I can say was this 16 months of psychological abuse. He pretended he was dealing with the legal aspects of her case, but he essentially did nothing except for compel us to bring our daughter to be illegally interviewed and photographed on multiple occasions by attorneys and mediators, you know, but no psychologists or DHS workers or police. And then basically this guy filed her claim as civil, which it wasn't. It was like civil negligence against a child. And we ended up owing her abusers. That was the whole deal. And these people sat up on the stand and said they were playing Naked Little House on the Prairie and they could get our daughter naked anytime. And it was really egregious behavior. And, you know, these people are still running around the town. And I do worry that other families have been targeted because we really believe this man. We believe Scott Kocher was actually dealing with the legal aspects of our daughter's case, and he did nothing for her. So,
he didn't call the police. He was a mandatory reporter, but neither did any of the doctors that saw our daughter.
No, and nobody seemed to care what actually ever happened to her.
What we did find out, though, was that Todd Burkholder, he's a brother of a politician here, a local politician. His name is Rex Burkholder. And all this stuff seemed to have, you know, seamlessly, you know, our daughter seemed like she was put through some kind of underground system for routing human trafficked victims.
That's what it seems like, because, I mean, we were kicked out of the hospital so fast, we couldn't get our wits about us at all. And what one thing Scott did is he didn't tell us that the night we brought our daughter to the hospital, they labeled this an accident within her medical records. So her medical records have been falsified. They're still falsified to this day.
There has been absolutely no investigation done by the authorities into this matter to date.
Right, and we don't know how the hospital labeled this an accident. Nobody will talk to us. It's just the words are in there that these people accidentally poured this boiling water on her leg. Now, the fact that they called it an accident, I don't know why that kept them from treating her, but I mean, when we say they didn't treat her, they didn't treat her. They didn't even put a blood pressure cuff on her. They didn't give her any fluids. They did nothing.
They didn't stabilize her at all, so she was actually dying, folks.
Right. And there are blood tests to prove that. So we have so much information that we've compiled over the years, and we're just tired, and we would like the law to work. We just cannot have people in positions of authority that are not interested in actually obeying the law, because then all we have in our society is chaos. That's it. That's just it. I mean,
multiple folks, there were all manner of authorities involved in looking at what happened to our daughter, and not one single one of them did their job. Not one.
So this
is alarming, folks. You should be concerned.
This
is how your city is running, okay? And so you can't have multiple law enforcement or government agencies or hospitals looking at an abused child and just getting basically sidelined and looked over.
The thing for us too is our daughter's burn was, per their own diagnosis, 10 to 19% of her body. The diagnosis called for her immediate transfer to the burn center, and she was never seen by any doctors at the burn center. We were never routed there. We didn't even know the place existed. This was a really stressful situation. But for her to have seen multiple doctors and she never gets routed to the burn center for even an evaluation. She was 59 pounds, 8 years old. There's some real evil stuff going on in our public institutions. There's some very evil people that are involved specifically in this crime.
And we were trusting all of these people. We trusted the doctors. We were listening to them.
We trusted
They were telling us to take our daughter home and essentially let her die.
Essentially. And if she had died, I want to be very clear, what the medical examiner would have found on her is a severely abused child, and I'm sure we would have been at that point arrested and thrown in jail for the rest of our lives, and our kids taken away, because they were busy covering this up from the minute it happened. They labeled it an accident that night. Now, nobody ever told us that. It wasn't until we saw her medical records a couple years later, because her attorney never showed us those medical records, that we saw that they had labeled it an accident, and we finally began to understand that they didn't treat her. Because I don't think people miss a lot of this story because they're just walking by, and because the media won't take our story seriously, and because this is being covered up. But when the hospitals just wrapped up the burn and gave her to us, they made it seem like that was the treatment. Okay, and then they wrote in her records that they were prescribing 3 times daily wound care, but they told us to go home and just wrap the wound, 3 times a day. That's not wound care. You don't get wound care from a parent who isn't a doctor. You know what I'm saying? They didn't even call to check on her. They didn't give us any supplies. This happened at 2 reputable hospitals. And what I'm saying for low-income people or minorities who might be targeted for this type of abuse, because I'm sure there are other victims, and I wish they would come forward. Okay? This is something that they can get done in the hospitals here, in the court system, in the law enforcement system. We've been being ignored for 16 years. It has not really mattered what we've said about this. Even though our daughter had horrific, visible injuries and couldn't walk and everything, the amount of people in on this is very disturbing at this point, and it really truly is a national embarrassment.
It's a crisis, actually.
They're just keeping this covered up because, you know, what are Americans supposed to think of this story?
Our system can't.
What's going on with our system?
Folks, our system can't survive this amount of corruption, okay? And if this is going on day after day, day after day, if people are going into the hospitals and being treated like this, if they're going into courtrooms and being treated like this, if they're walking into police departments and talking to police and being treated the way that we are being treated, it is absolutely no wonder why our city is falling apart.
And no wonder why you see so much national violence, because I tell you right now, this entire process, if we were not practicing pacifists, this has been nothing but frustrating, and I really can't see, after having dealt with the law enforcement and legal system and the hospitals and all this for the last 16 years, I don't know how our authorities are actually trying to stop violence in the streets. Because it's just in the way they deal with people, okay? They disregard people. They tell them they don't matter. They take forever to look into anything. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we are still asking for a freaking preliminary investigation into all these massive wounds. And we have a living victim, you know, who has come forward and tried on multiple occasions to even herself get some help. She doesn't do this. But I mean, when do they start helping her? And how bad is the corruption? How bad is the racism? How many people are being affected by this? We need to know, or otherwise we can't get the city back on track. I'm not surprised that we have a lack of police officers here in the city, because with this going on, why would anybody really want to come here and be a police officer? It's a raw deal. I don't think every police officer is in on this, but I can't only assume that every police officer knows we're down here. You know what I'm saying? Because we've been down here for over 2 years now talking about this. And again, because we live in what has become a very fascist country, we don't have a free and fair media. So this never gets into the media. So you are all trained to not take it seriously because you haven't seen it on the news. And everybody is very brainwashed now. If it's not on the news, it didn't happen. If a news anchor didn't tell you about it, it didn't happen. So for poor people and low-income people who are being targeted with this type of abuse, what are they really supposed to do? We were targeted, and they got away with it for all intents and purposes. Except for we're out here week after week trying to get this resolved, still talking about it, because this is so serious for America. Our laws, our law enforcement systems, they have to work, and people have to have respect for them to work. And it's hard to have respect for law enforcement when this kind of stuff is going on. It doesn't make me feel good that they involved themselves in this, but also me and my husband, we didn't make anybody do anything. They just did it of their own accord. They were always the ones with the power. But
all we were doing was what these people were telling us to do. We did what the doctors told us to do. We did what the attorneys told us to do. And folks, when we finally discovered that our daughter was not treated, when we finally learned about what actually happened to her in that fraudulent trial, folks, we snapped out of it, okay? And what could have happened is we could have been absolutely burning this town down to the ground with the amount of frustration and anger and mental anguish and emotional distress that we have been experiencing.
Exactly. I mean, again, if we weren't practicing pacifists, I mean, this would have been real bad. And even to this day, it takes a lot of self-control to continue to pound away at this thing in a nonviolent, peaceful way. Although that's still, like I said, as much as our authorities say they want peace in the nation, this does not seem to be the avenue they want people to go down. So me and my husband, they never turn a camera on us because they don't want somebody who's going to pick up a gun or blow something up to know they have a peaceful avenue to at least express themselves. Because this is a very, very therapeutic thing for me and my husband to do. We get out here, so we're making sure we're talking about our issues, okay? So we're not just stuffing them week after week and maybe harming ourselves or thinking of harming others. And that's an important thing to do, especially when you're being ignored by law enforcement. It doesn't mean your voice doesn't matter. You got to find other ways to talk about what's going on with you so you're not hurting other people, because once you hurt somebody, then that just puts you in a prison. That puts you in a prison in your mind, and that may actually get you physically put into prison. And you don't want to end up there.
Yeah,
just because the authorities are poking at you to do that, okay? Violence is never, never, never the answer. That's something we know for sure. Because whoever decides to go along with continuing to cover up this crime, they're going to have to take that up with God. So we'll leave God to do that, but we're going to keep trying to make sure they have to take it up with us and with the authorities wherever they are. If there are any authorities, I don't know if any exist anymore. We're trying to find them. And that's why we're out here. We're calling on the authorities to just do their job. Just be done with the cover-up. Wash yourselves clean. You know what I'm saying? Cleanse yourself. We need to cleanse this city of the evil energy that is coursing through it, because that is what is making everything just go downhill more and more and more. You can't hide something like this. This is so bad. This is so bad. It's literally affecting everything that is going on in this city. And I believe, nationally, this is a problem as well. That's why they don't want to put it in the news. People, we have all been trained as Americans. We believe in the system, right? That's what makes the system work, is believing that there are rules and laws and stuff like that. In our case, none of those rules or laws have been applied, but that also doesn't give us the right to turn to violence. But that doesn't mean that the other side has any right to be doing what they're doing. So our tactic here is just to continue to call it out. I don't care how high level somebody is. If they've committed a crime, then they need to pay the piper. I don't care if it's Hunter Biden or
Joe Biden himself.
Or John Castellino or Ellen Rosenblum, or I don't care. If you did the crime, you do the time. Equal application of the law is the cornerstone of a free and just society. That is something that my husband put in one of our court briefs long ago, and I really do believe that. Equal application of the law is the cornerstone of a free and just society, because that is how you keep people living together in a fair way. And when you don't apply the law equally, that can cause a lot of problems.
It can destabilize your society, folks. And that is what they've done. That's what they've done. Our society's completely destabilized.
Yeah, when we think about 16 years ago on the night of April 12, 2007, what happened to our daughter, and in the time following, look at what happened to the city in the last 16 years. It's really gone downhill. Well, in the background have been me and my husband fighting for justice for our daughter, and then all these public officials getting involved in what we believe is actually evil. These people boiled up a tea kettle full of scalding water and dumped it on our daughter. It sounds very satanic.
As far as we know, we're not even sure. She doesn't even completely remember what happened to her.
But the thing is it looks like satanic ritual abuse, especially since the fact nobody wants to even talk about it, and the fact that she wasn't treated. So we had an 8-year-old child enduring like medieval torture Okay, because this was very, very painful. I mean, if you've even had the tiniest little burn, you know what I'm talking about. This was horrifically painful for her. And all they gave her was some Tylenol with codeine when she needed morphine, and to be, admitted to the burn hospital and special cleanings of this wound and to be on a special diet and all kinds of stuff. I mean, burns are such complicated injuries. That's why we have burn centers located all over the United States specifically for burn care. The only time you don't need to go to a hospital is if a burn is smaller than a quarter. A quarter. Okay, look it up on the American Medical Association, because you can get sepsis because your skin has been broken. The skin is the body's largest organ. So, there's high risk of infection, and a burn is actually an injury to the entire body, because the skin is the body's largest organ. These are all things we didn't understand as young parents, so it was very easy for them to literally tell us to do this, and we did it. And it's scary that our authorities did this, and then now they don't want to revisit it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to fire or arrest anybody involved in it. That is a problem, and that is why we are watching our city go downhill, because you have a lot of high-level people that are distracted by this. And I do believe a lot of chaos in the city, like it's being allowed to distract from this. Like the protests that did all the damage, this window breaking, this mysterious window breaking going on. I really do believe these things are being done to distract from this major, major problem, because this isn't good.
Folks, there's just too many
all this.
Public officials involved in covering this up.
Too many
This was
attorneys,
a horrible crime against a child.
Like I said, this was medieval torture.
If our city does not have the ability to protect the most vulnerable among us, okay?
We're finished.
We're done here, folks.
We're finished.
We might as well just wrap it up.
And that's what scares me too, because now we're going to be putting up these camps. They're not going to be treating people nicely in these camps, because they don't know how to treat people. They tried to kill our daughter for no reason. I mean, that's what it looks like anyway. I mean, just to cover up for this pedophiles and this politician, which we already saw that go on with Epstein, Nasser, Weinstein. It's just a constant theme. I think Hunter Biden, he has a laptop full of him like raping kids and stuff. I haven't looked at that. I haven't been paying much attention to that, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good. And he's the president's son. I don't know why pedophilia is so protected. It's so disgusting to me. I just don't have a deviant mind like that. I don't know why you would want to have sex with a child, but lots of people seem to want to do that.
Yeah, what about Jeffrey Epstein?
Yes.
Where's that black book at?
Yeah, we would love to see Epstein's black book. I heard they released some information the other day, but still, there's a black book full of names of people who should be arrested. And when do we just start paying the piper? When does the law just matter? I don't care what color you are, what position you're in, whatever. This is the cause of all the violence in our society. I mean, we can't have law enforcement not enforcing laws. It's just, this has gotten to be, it is literally turning into nothing but chaos.
Yeah, at this point, what we have is an injustice system. We don't have a justice system. Our system works to protect criminals. That's all it does.
And me and my husband, we have taken the time. People don't know this about us, but we've spent a lot of time with federal agents, with police. Like we tried to talk to these people reasonably about this, and they never have any explanations. They never want to explain anything. And I encourage everybody, get copies of your medical records, because our daughter's medical records were falsified. And we never even thought to ask for copies of her medical records. But you got stuff like that going on at your state hospital, and then nobody wants to figure it out?
Nobody wants to look into it?
That's another problem.
That's the thing. We have complained to every single organization that you're supposed to complain about this, and nobody wants to investigate it.
That's why I'm saying
that's a big problem.
It feels like we don't even have a country right now to us, because where do you go when you have a problem? Especially if you're, okay, we're practicing pacifists. We're not going to get a gun. We're not going to strap on a bomb. We are calmly, patiently waiting system that should exist to work. And, you know, we're all in danger because this system isn't working, because it is causing mass violence in our society today.
And this is what we are all depending on, folks. We are all depending on the American justice system to work, on our medical system to work, on law enforcement to work.
We're depending on these people to be bound by rules and laws. And if they're not bound by rules and laws and only governed by their friends who are going to protect them, then we are just literally living in a sea of chaos, which I believe we are, which is why we're seeing more and more people go homeless, which is why we are seeing more and more of our society be ripped apart every single day. And we're really devolving down, and the people it's harming the most are the poor people and the colored people. They are getting absolutely obliterated in this hot mess, okay?
More and more of the planet is becoming poor, folks. So what does that tell you?
Right, we're getting down to there's just going to be this tiny little group of rich people, and then everybody else doesn't matter. They can kill them. They can do whatever they want to them. They can treat them however. I mean, we don't really have a system, and that's our biggest concern. That is something me and my husband are diligently looking for, is a system that works. I mean, our media, it's over. I don't care. I mean, everybody here in Portland that knows about this protest knows that our national media, it's completely fascist and it's over. Because I've contacted all kinds of journalists about this, and they won't even try to look at the information, verify the information, or cover this in any way. So again, you have the media covering up for all these institutions, and everybody's just covering, and in the midst of that, we just have criminals running everything. So, yes, they are out to harm people. Look at these poor people in Ohio. You know, they're probably going to be hordes of people sick and dying, and they're not going to get any help because law enforcement, because they get their paychecks, you know, from the corporations, essentially. That's what we're down to. They're just going to cover up for them, and all these people are going to suffer. And this is just a constant theme, okay? How do we put a stop to it so people can be living better lives? We can't have an America that runs like this, okay? We have to do something, and I know we're all at a loss for what to do, but that's why me and my husband get out here and we at least talk about it. Because we have to talk about it, because everybody is using these systems, and they are broken. They are broken to the core. The people who are running them don't even care about the law. The people who are running them are hiding our poor, abused, tortured daughter under a rug, in a closet. And then they're standing there telling you that they know best, when they're perfectly okay with hiding this horrific, horrific crime.
Folks, our public officials can't be okay with covering up crimes,
They
folks.
can't be.
I mean, we have laws, all kinds of laws that were supposed to protect our daughter, and none of them worked.
I mean,
none of them went into play.
She was
there
abused.
were protocols, there were laws.
She was abused at these people's house, abused at the hospitals, abused in the court system, abused by law enforcement. The abuse just goes on and on and on. And this happened as a child. And they try to say this isn't real, but it happened here, okay, in Portland, with this case. And the reason we are able to get out here and continue to talk about this in front of, FYI, the largest law firm on the West Coast is right there, Stoll Reeves, okay? So when we're talking about this, we're telling you the truth. It's just your fascist media doesn't want to tell you that this is what's going on, because they don't want pushback from the public about this. They don't want to arrest these people who were involved in the medieval torture of this child. They expected our daughter to die, okay? The burn was of the scope and size that it should have killed her overnight. So they didn't expect her to be able to ever come forward. But as a living victim, she can do that. We praise God for that, okay?
And she has done that and has tried to do it.
And we are still trying.
We are still being met. We are still being met with pushback, even though there is a living victim.
Right.
So, folks, if this is what people are experiencing, that is why you are seeing all the crime and why you're seeing our city fall apart. Because this much corruption exists in the systems that you are depending on to smoothly run our society.
It's interesting to me, too, because they went and picked up all those January 6th protesters, but they won't pick up a single person involved in this. You know what I'm saying? They won't pick up a single person, and they obstructed all kinds of lawful proceedings and all kinds of legal things that they were not supposed to be obstructing. That was the whole point of January 6th, is these people have been imprisoned because they interfered with the lawful process. Well, what about all the people, and I mean the big list of people, who are involved in covering up the abuse of our daughter? Why are they still working? And then these regular citizens all rounded up and arrested as if they did something wrong when they went to go protest for January 6th. I don't get it. You know, that's what I'm talking about, equal application of the law. They shouldn't be able to lock those people up if something like this is okay. I mean, I guess it's just the wild, wild west. Let all the criminals out and they'll just run everywhere and we'll all just kill each other, I guess. You know, that's what we get if we don't have a legal system that people can respect and have any expectations from. I mean, me and my husband were just disappointed that this goes on and on. I mean, we're in year 3 of this protest. You know, this is, like I said, it's nothing but a national embarrassment at this point. People can walk by and pretend they don't see us. You know, all the attorneys in town and law enforcement, everybody can pretend this protest isn't going on. But what is that really getting you? What are you really getting? Because we're never going away. I want to be very clear. We have no timeline on this. We've dedicated our lives to this. We will do this for the rest of our lives until the day we die, because it is too important for the country.
It's too important
for the country and for every single American citizen that lives in this country. Law enforcement has to work, and it cannot be predicated on your position in society or how much money is in your bank account. Okay? It is not okay. It is not okay for our mayor, our governor, our attorney general to continue to cover this up. We've been distressed about this for 16 years, and I will tell you, it is killing me. It is killing me, my husband. We get up every day, and it is April 12th, 2007, and we are trying to figure out what the fuck happened, because our daughter lives with severe, lifelong medical complications from this.
That she's not being treated for.
That she's not being treated for.
Because all of this is being denied by the authorities.
Exactly.
It's being ignored.
So this goes on and on and on for us. This is a daily battle that we fight. And we are exhausted and we are tired. And we are trying to turn to God. And we are trying to ask our community to help us. I don't know where the churches are. There are no churches in this city, I guess. I guess everybody worships Satan. Or if you're going to church, they're making you worship Satan because they don't even come down and pray for us. They don't even come and see about us. I haven't had any pastors. Where are the pastors? Where are the people who care about this kind of stuff? Maybe none of them exist in this city. I'm really surprised that we haven't even seen one pastor come out and just grab a Bible and say, I'm going to pray with you. Okay, it's really sickening to me that that is what we have here. And it concerns me for the entire country, because I've been seeing all these like satanic statues going up and all this weird stuff. You know, you had Sam Smith and Kim Petras doing their little satanic whatever the hell on the Grammys. I mean, and for me, after going through this experience, I'm like, the soul of the nation, I guess, has been bought by Satan himself, because that's what it feels like to us. So we're trying to turn to God here. We are trying to stay firmly grounded in the pacifism that we practice. But we got to start turning this around. There has got to be good people somewhere that care about this. I don't know where they are, but we continue to look for them. You know, we have some silent supporters, but it'd be nice to have more supporters, because you shouldn't want this going on in your city. This could happen to you. This could happen to your child. And we don't want that. You know, we don't want anybody else to ever have to go through something like we went through. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, to tell you the truth. The hell that these people have put me through in a country where, you know, there's a law for everything. I mean, you can't even cross the damn street without there being laws governing that, but you can just burn up a kid with the scalding water from a tea kettle after you coerce them to play naked and then leave them with no medical care. You know, drag the child through an illegal proceeding where they are photographed and interviewed illegally. You know, our daughter was illegally interviewed in front of her abuser. They made her recount her abuse in front of her abuser.
Folks, that's all supposed to be illegal,
so illegal, and this attorney told us we had to, and when we've tried to report this man, he never gets arrested. I mean, really, I wish somebody would do a citizen's arrest on Scott Qadira. The guy's a sicko. He's a sick fuck.
And he is representing children.
He's out
here
in the community,
in our community,
children, working for the Forum Law Group. I mean, and he's a 5-star attorney. Google him.
Folks,
Scott Qadira, he's sick. Arrest this man, please. My God, you arrest these doctors that didn't treat our child. Please.
Folks, you
Stop
can't
putting
have
us through this. Stop making us, just, this has been debilitating stress. I just want it to be over. If this is illegal, for God's sake, when does it end?
Folks, I don't really know what to say because, I mean, my wife and I have been out here week after week saying the same thing, talking about the same stuff, and nobody's acting. You know what I'm saying? We keep on going back to these institutions, hoping and praying there is somebody with some integrity somewhere in all of these systems, and we have not found them yet.
It scares me too because basically what you get, I feel, from the authorities is like, they don't tell you to go engage in violence, but they make it so everything is so frustrating that that's your only option. So,
I mean, it's not your only option, but folks, it feels like the most immediate option.
That's what they leave. I feel like they leave citizens with, and if we weren't practicing pacifists, that I can see why people turn to picking up guns, why people turn to strapping on bombs, why people are breaking windows, because guess what? They don't get heard. And we need to change that so we can actually start dealing with the violence in our society. We've had, I don't even know how many mass shootings this year. They were talking about it on the news the other day. So many. Why? Because people are not being listened to and their problems aren't being appropriately dealt with. I can just tell you, 16 years of having to exert firm, self-control over ourselves so we can try to work this out. And this just being cut and dry and nothing ever getting done, it speaks volumes about why we have violence on the streets. And so I get really angry when I see on the news, the law enforcement officials saying they want to stop the violence, because the first thing they can do is start listening to people and helping people. Nobody has ever explained to us how they labeled this an accident. It's very curious. Is it because the white people who did it just said it was an accident and that was enough for them? Doesn't matter that they coerced our daughter to play naked. Doesn't matter that they boiled the tea kettle on the stove. Doesn't matter that they burned her and then wrapped her naked and stuffed her in their basement and did God knows what else. If this is an accident, then why did... There was a guy, actually, I was going to read an article today.
I don't think we have that. Oh, you do have it.
I'll get it. There was a guy that was just picked up in Tigard. He went on to Mountain View School, and he touched this girl's butt. He groped this little girl. 6 years in prison. 6 years in prison. So why is it okay for them to be covering this up? Actually, I'm not going to read the article because it's just complicated. You can look it up. His name was Uriel Montoya. It was on Coin yesterday. I mean, he got 6 years in prison for touching this girl's butt. And he should have. He's a creeper. Shouldn't have been on the middle school campus groping kids. I'm fine with that, but these people shouldn't have had my daughter naked and burned her with the tea kettle and God knows what else they did. They were molesting her. And I'm tired of law enforcement. It's been 16 years. They never even picked this man up. This man and this woman, they just were allowed to run around in the towns, volunteer at Portland Public Schools.
This guy lives behind a school.
He lives behind a school. God knows how many kids he's touched. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? They won't look into it. And it scares me to think that there are doctors and attorneys and law enforcement officials that aid pedophiles. Okay? That's not a conspiracy. We experienced this. We are 16 years into that experience. They wouldn't even talk to this guy and his wife after they burned up our kid. They didn't care. So that is a scary, scary, scary place for us to be in society. I feel so heartbroken and sad for sex assault victims because I understand how hard it is to come forward, and then when you are not believed despite physical evidence, despite testimony, these people admitted to doing this to our daughter on court record. They said they were playing Naked Little House on the Prairie. Hell's bells, they laughed about it with the judge. I'm talking like some real sick, satanic stuff going on in our public institutions where everybody needs to be worried. The condition of the city is reflective of the people who are running the city and how they feel about people. And they don't like people. They'll throw people away. They tried to throw our daughter away just for no reason. Just to protect a pedophile. Simply because, you know, they're bringing a lot of money into the state, these politicians.
That's all we can assume. Because we don't have any other explanation for why these people are treating our daughter and our family like this. But folks, we're going to keep on talking about it because that's how we eventually get it sorted out. But if we go and pick up a gun and we go kill these people, then we're not going to figure out, okay, how this happened, why it happened, and how to stop it.
Yeah, how do we fix our system? That is what me and my husband are interested in. We're not interested in violence, which it's kind of ironic because when you're not interested in violence and you don't want to burn down your city and you don't want to kill anybody, nobody wants to help you. Nobody wants to help you. Isn't that interesting?
That's sure what it seems like to us, folks.
How is it that when you want to be peaceful, when you want to resolve a problem peacefully, nobody wants to help you? How is it we've spent 113 weeks down here essentially alone? I mean, we get some words of encouragement, and we get some words of not encouragement, you know, but still, you know, in terms of who's actually helping us, people just don't, you know, if you're not going to, like the 2020 protests, everybody came out to burn down the city. I don't really get why. I guess because the news told them to. That's all I can figure out is when these big protests happen and people want to like burn down their own cities and hurt each other, it's because the news tells them to.
That's just what it seems like, folks.
It's over a specific issue. It just looks stupid. I don't even understand it. It's like, why would you even bother? All this activism in Portland, it's all fake. All the activists are fake. I tried to contact these groups. They have no interest. You know, we've got like BLM still going here. They have their little stuff. They don't care about Black lives. They don't care about this. I think they're just paid to do whatever it is they're doing. It's weird to me. It's literally a mystery to me. You know, of all the protests I've seen here in Portland, for nobody to care about a burned up little black girl, it's just, I don't get it. And I know there's a lot of rumors going around about this, but the facts in this case are going to come out one day because we are going to make sure they do. See, the other side, they've moved on. They moved on because it wasn't their kid, it didn't happen to them, and they didn't care about it. But we're never going to move on because this was our kid and we care about it. This is what happened to us. This is our story. You know, these are things that they did to us. And so this protest may look some way today, but how's it going to look 5 years from now, 10 years from now? That's what I encourage the authorities to think about because we're not going anywhere. We're going to keep doubling down. We're going to keep working on this. We set aside time to work on this because we will not allow America to go down this road without fighting for something better.
And that's why we're here, folks. And that's why we're going to continue to show up. We're going to shut it down, but we're going to leave you with this because this is how we believe we are going to turn this ship around because we are headed in the wrong direction right now, not just as a country, but as a global race of beings. Okay?
Yeah, the global community, I mean, we're just bowing down to the money. These people, these billionaires, and they're sick.
And there's no reason for it.
Plans.
There's no reason for it. We know better.
Yep.
I believe that people know better.
Amen.
And the only thing that we're missing is the understanding that we are actually what is valuable, because we have been being trained, okay, for thousands of years now to value something other than people. Okay, and that is a practice that is still going on right now. And this is why it's making it so easy for them to throw us away. I'm talking about the people who are controlling the money. Okay? So if you don't understand that you are what is valuable, that is your only protection from the nefarious things that they are doing to us right now. And it's happening globally, folks. Don't think it's localized here. These people have networks all over the planet, and they're getting ready to handle humanity.
That's right.
So this is your protection. You should say it with us because it matters. Here it goes. I am the value.
I am the value.
You are the value.
You are the value.
We are the value.
We are the value. I am the value.
I am the value.
You are the value.
You are the value.
We are the value.
We are the value. I am the value. You are the value. We are the value. I am the value. You are the value. We are the value. I am the value. You are the value. We are the value.
Remember it, you guys. Hold on to it, because what me and my husband have been doing for the last 16 years, why we wear these shirts, we've been in these shirts for over 10 years now. We never leave home without our value, because someone is always going to try to rip that away from you, because that is what we've been trained to do to each other, to treat one another like we don't matter, and we need to turn that around. That is what Jesus was here to teach us, and we need to start putting what Jesus taught us into practice, okay? Those were good words, those were good teachings, and we need to double back down on that, because these billionaires, they're crazy. They're running all of our institutions, and they're telling our authorities and our elected officials to essentially get rid of us. Why do you think they want to set up camps instead of put people into homes? They're not trying to help anybody. The camps will be to kill people. Once people are sent to the camps, we know what Hitler did. He just turned on the showers. Don't think that Ted Wheeler won't do that to you. Because once you're in a camp, you won't matter.
You don't matter now.
You don't matter now.
Okay, that's what they've got us believing. They've got you believing that you don't matter. Okay? And they're constantly telling you that.
Like you did something wrong because you couldn't figure out how to manage the monetary system, which is so confusing. It's no wonder so many people end up homeless and feeling dejected and broken. They don't even teach you really how to manage the money in school or anything. You're just supposed to know how. And it's very unfair. So, all these people are slipping through the cracks, falling to the streets. We had 193 homeless people die last year. That is unconscionable. People dying in the streets in the richest nation in the country. I don't feel good about this. This is not something that God wants to see us doing, treating one another this way.
And we don't have to, folks. That's the beauty. We don't actually have to be doing this, but it is our collective decision to continue running society like this.
I also want to say it really bothers me. I recently got a Twitter account, and I've been following Ellen Rosenblum. All this woman does is talk about how you need to go get your abortion. She don't want people here. She makes that obvious. And I'm not on anybody's case that's ever had to access that service. My issue is, she was involved in this too. And so it's like, let's get the population down so we can make more room for the billionaires. And I don't understand. Aren't the billionaires already taking up enough space? Jesus Christ, these people have multiple homes. They're all like, 60, 70, 80,000 square feet. It's ridiculous the amount that these people are taking, and then they're saying everybody else is a problem.
Folks, you are not a problem. I want to assure you of that.
No.
You are not the problem, and you will never be the problem, okay? What you have, they can only take from you if you give it to them. If you give them your value, if you agree that you are not what matters, they have taken your value. Okay? The fact that my wife and I can come here week after week, we are asserting our value. We are letting them know that we matter and that we know it. You can do that too.
Absolutely. And we're not saying that it's going to instantly change things for you, but it really helps when you are telling yourself on a daily basis that you are what is valuable. Because I guarantee you that is the truth. You know, you are here. Everybody's here for a reason. Okay? Everybody was invited here. Everybody belongs on this planet. We cannot allow these people to tell us that we don't belong here. This isn't their planet. This isn't their world. They don't get to decide. We are here to take care of one another and to help one another, and we cannot have our elected officials telling us something different. I would rather go with what Christ said, okay? I would rather go with what Christ said, not with what these people say. He said, take care of one another, love one another. He didn't say, throw little kids out to die. We don't have state-of-the-art hospitals so we can throw children out to die and torture them. It's disgusting.
And we don't have empty homes, folks, so that people can linger in the freaking streets and die.
Yeah, and then they say, while the homes are empty, China has whole ghost cities. But while all these dwellings are empty, oh, we're running out of everything. Yeah, we're running out of everything because people are so freaking greedy at the top that they need, it's beyond the pale what they need.
So,
it's like, what are people supposed to do when there are people who literally need that much and we're supposed to be bowing down to them? No.
No, folks.
No.
No.
So we're
going
have
to keep
to take
getting
back
out
our
here.
value, and we're going to be back next week for week 114. This never stops until we get something. We get the news responding. We get our officials responding, and we start a national conversation about what is going on with the corruption in our system. So thank you, Downtown Portland. Like I said, we'll be back next week. We appreciate everybody that stopped and listened. You guys really are the value. Wherever you are, if you can hear this protest, you are chosen. So few people in the world are hearing this protest. Just know that just you hearing this and choosing to participate and listen to us, it matters. And please, please tell somebody we are here because they are burying us. Okay? So please, we love everybody. God bless.
Thank you, Portland.